Hi guys, it's Sarah Elizabeth. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about a whole lot of life and a whole lot of Jesus. So last week, y'all got ready with me and I got some great feedback. Y'all seem to like that. So we're gonna do it again. So it's gonna be another makeup and a message. However, this is not going to be what I planned on talking about because the Lord gave me a dream the other night. And it was one of those dreams where I immediately woke up and pulled out my phone and went to my voice memos and started recording it because I didn't want to forget any details because it was just so significant. And I wanted to share that today because it really blessed me and I hope that it blesses you as well. Let's get started. So the other night I had a dream, and in that dream, my brother and I were together and we heard that there was a tunnel to heaven. So we decided we were going to go on this search for the tunnel to heaven at all costs. So we started searching and somehow we did come across this tunnel to heaven. So when we got to the tunnel, we saw that it was super narrow and we were like, how can someone actually fit in there? But at the same time, we would see other people getting into that tunnel. And now how they were doing that, they would just stand on top and then just kind of sink in the tunnel. And we didn't actually see, like they didn't open the lid. It actually looked like one of those, what are those things on the street where like, I don't know, like there's water in there and probably like a whole bunch of dead bodies. No, I'm just kidding. Y'all can tell me what those are. It looked like one of those. So we saw people sinking into them and we weren't quite sure how that was happening considering it was so narrow, but we believed it was the pathway to heaven. This was the tunnel that leads to heaven. So, listen, if we're able to squeeze through this thing, all of our troubles will be over. So we gonna try. So we're here at this tunnel and we decided we wanted to go in together, which we had already planned. We're like, we're going to do this together. When we see that people are actually going into this very narrow tunnel, we are like, well, you know what? Faith says we can do it. Even though it looks impossible, we're gonna practice faith on our journey to heaven. And so we decided to not doubt the fact that we could do it. And so we planned on going into that tunnel together, like hand in hand, brother and sister, we are going to heaven, okay? And so we started preparing. We went to the tunnel and we're like, okay, so how do we do this? And we're there, we're standing on top, and we see that there is a weight limit. And now the weight limit was not like our weight, it was everything excluding us. So it was a weight limit for how much we could take with us, but we had packed our bags, okay? We had our stuff. We were ready, we were prepared. We were leaving this earth. We were saying, see ya, this earth is ghetto, we leaving. So we were trying to go with our bags and things, but there was a weight limit. We knew that we had exceeded the weight limit from the amount of stuff that we brought with us. So we decided we're gonna have to get rid of some of this stuff. So we started getting rid of our things. In fact, I think we just abandoned our suitcases that we had with us because we're like, you know what? We're going to heaven. We don't need these anyway. So we started abandoning them, but we were still overweight. And so it got to the point where we were just standing there without our luggage and we were like, we're still over the weight limit. So we go back and we're like, all right, we have to figure this out. Like, what can we get rid of? And so we started taking off some of the clothes we had. We were prepared for all types of different weather. We didn't know what it was gonna be like on the journey to heaven. So we had our jackets on, we had our hats on, we had some ski gear. I don't know what we were doing with ski gear, we don't ski. We had all of this clothing as if we were prepared for any kind of climate. So then it got to the place where we had taken off our ski gear. We took off our heavy jacket. We were really determined that we were going to take this leap of faith, literally, and we were gonna be okay whatever the climate was, whatever the situation, because we're doing this to get to heaven, to be with Jesus. So we knew we were going to be taken care of. And so after taking off all of our gear, we stepped on, and now, like I said, we were trying to do this together. We were planning, we were going to go to heaven together. And so when we would step on, the weight limit was 23 pounds. That was between the two of us. So it wasn't 23 pounds for him and 23 pounds for me, but it was 23 pounds, period, of excess weight that we could have, completely excluding however much we weigh. So we decided, okay, we're still overweight. And so I was like, okay, let me take off my shoes. So my brother is there and he's waiting. He's on the scale, because there was a scale on top of the lid of the tunnel. And so he's there and he's just waiting for me to take off my shoes. And while he's waiting for me, he's visibly anxious. He's really, really ready to get to heaven. And next thing you know, as he's seeing other people just kind of bypass him and jump into the tunnel, people who were ready, he became increasingly anxious to go. And he wanted to go to heaven. He was ready, but I was still taking off my shoes. I don't know why it was taking me so long to take off my shoes, but I was taking off my shoes. Next thing you know, my brother jumps into the tunnel without me. And I was like, at first, my instant response was to be frustrated and maybe a little upset, because we were supposed to do this together, and then you just went and you went to heaven without me. Like, you took that leap of faith without me when that was something we were supposed to do together. But then I instantly decided I need to get rid of that thought, because if I'm here about to go to heaven, I can't be having thoughts of anger or frustration like that, because I need to have pure thoughts, because I'm about to go to heaven. So I wanted my brother there with me because I felt less scared taking that leap with him. Though I knew that Jesus was going to be with me. He was going to take that leap with me. And so I decided that, okay, my brother went without me, but it's okay, because I have Jesus, and I need to be comfortable with just relying on Jesus and not having the comfort of my brother, who's tangible. He's right there and he's my protector, but Jesus is my protector. Ultimately, Jesus is, and he is my ultimate and best friend. So I should be able to be just fine with the fact that I'm doing this alone with the Lord. So I got up after taking my shoes off and seeing that my brother had taken that leap of faith into the tunnel to heaven. And I started walking towards the tunnel, and then appears my brother behind me. And I was like, whoa, like, where'd you come from? And he said that he came from that door, and he pointed to a door. Somehow there was a door that led him back to take the pathway to heaven. And so I was like, oh, wow, didn't see that there. He said he was just trying it out. So even though I had already gotten rid of those negative thoughts, I was still relieved that my brother was back, because now I have someone to go to heaven with, and we can do this together. So even though I had settled in my mind that I was going to go and take this leap of faith with just me and the Lord, I was relieved that my brother was back. I felt like, okay, we can still go through with our original plan. We're gonna go to heaven together. So when we got back on the scale, I saw that we were actually underweight. We had somehow removed enough items that we were under the 23-pound limit. So I decided to go back and put my shoes back on, which delayed us getting to heaven a little longer. We were underweight, so I could go back, put my shoes back on, and we could still go to heaven. And that's one thing I get to keep. So after I put my shoes back on, we go back to weigh ourselves and make sure we're still underweight. So after we weighed ourselves, we step on to the tunnel. Like in the middle was where you sink in. And we did it together because by faith, we knew that the two of us could do it together. And somehow, even though it was super, super narrow, we were going to be able to do that because because of faith. Because faith allows the impossible to be possible. So next thing you know, the lid opens and we sink and I wake up. I thought, what a significant dream, because there's so many things that relate to our experience as imperfect Christians here on this earth seeking the kingdom. For example, we were on the search for the pathway to heaven, but when we found it, we did have a little bit of doubt. We were like, okay, it's so narrow. Like, how can anyone actually pass through this? We had to see others doing it in order for us to believe. Also, there was a weight limit, and the weight limit excluded our weight. So we were included in how much we could bring, but there was a weight limit to how much excess we could bring. According to the scale, we weighed nothing. Our weight was completely excluded, and it was only anything in addition, anything extra that we had to worry about. Also, we had to get rid of things in order to meet the weight requirement. And those things seemed like necessities. Like, if it's cold, don't you want to have a sweater or a jacket? If you're gonna be on foot, don't you want to have shoes? These are necessities. So why would we have to give up our necessities? We could understand giving up our luggage and all of the extra stuff, right? But things that we were so certain that we needed, we found ourselves having to get rid of. But then when I found out that I was under the weight limit, I found myself wanting to put some of those necessities back on. I was willing to take them off in the first place, but I wanted to get as close to the weight limit as possible. No more, no less. I'm reminded of Matthew 7, verse 13, where I'm paraphrasing. It says, "Enter into the narrow gate. Wide and broad is the gate that leads to destruction, and many go that direction." I think that the tunnel to heaven represented us desiring to make it to heaven, us trying to live our lives in a manner that is going to allow us to be able to enter into that pathway to heaven, so to speak. But I think that the weight limit was a reminder that we can't take everything with us. We're going to have to remove some things. We're gonna have to take away some things. We're gonna have to take off some layers because there's a weight limit. We can't bring our luggage with us. We can't bring our issues with us, our problems with us, our trials, our worldly thought processes, our worldly possessions, our worldly desires. None of that is going to come with us. We're going to have to take things off. When we were first searching for the tunnel, we were so excited. We were on fire. And we were so willing to take off whatever had to be removed in order for us to meet the requirements, to be able to enter into that tunnel that was going to lead us to heaven. But then when I saw that I was under the weight limit, I suddenly had the desire to put some of that stuff back on. I wanted to put my shoes back on. And that reminds me of how sometimes we can be so on fire for the Lord. We want to do everything for God. We want to, hey, I'll give you this. I'll give up that. I'll do this. Like, I'll even give you my life. Like, Lord, I make me a martyr. I want to do everything for you. When we have that newness with God, where we're just so on fire and so in love, there's nothing that we don't want to do for him. But then sometimes as life goes on, as we experience things, and we start questioning God and his goodness, and we start asking him, why did you allow this? And we start wondering if he's still present in our lives, and we go through stuff and we experience things and we become complacent in our relationship with him. We start to want to put things back on. And then our relationship with him is no longer, Lord, how much more can I do for you? It's more like, what can I put back on and still meet the minimal requirements to make it to the pathway of heaven? Out of our love for the Lord, nothing should ever be too much for us to take off. When you love someone, you're trying to go overboard. You're trying to please that person. You're not trying to do the bare minimum. If your spouse only did the bare minimum, the smallest amount that it took to keep you, but when you love someone, you want to do more for them. It's like, how much more can I show you that I love you? What else can I do to express the depth of my love for you? If that means I have to stop this, or if that means that I have to give up this, that's not too expensive of a price. But we're talking about our Savior. We're talking about the man who died for us. We're talking about the person who is gone to prepare a place for us and to receive us, a personalized heaven for you and for me. How much more could we do for him? He's gone way overboard for us. He doesn't give us a minimal kind of love. His love for us costed him his life. We can do more. And I am so grateful that God doesn't give me a mediocre kind of love. The least I could do is to love him to the best of my ability, give him my life, and leave my shoes off. I don't need those when I'm walking with Jesus. That's all for today. Thank you guys so much for getting ready with me. I hope that you enjoyed. And this week, I challenge all of us to just talk with God and ask him if there's anything that we're harboring, anything that could be preventing us from just getting that much closer to finding that tunnel to heaven. And until then, y'all stay safe. Have a wonderful week. I'll see you next Thursday. As always, Sarah Elizabeth. Bye.